Hello and welcome to What's Your Story. It's so good to have you with us here today again. And I've got some very special guests. And these are two people that I met recently and fell madly in love with and decided they have to come on the show and tell you about what they do. They're so interesting. And what they do is so new and exciting and creative that it may take us a little while to just really figure out exactly what it is. But I think that's part of the mystic of being with these two people. So welcome, Sunny and Bella Bonner. Sunny and Bella Bonner, and your company name is?
80 milliseconds.
80 milliseconds. 80 milliseconds. And you are a research lab for experimental design and creative evolution. Is that correct? Now, what does that mean?
Do you want to lead this one?
Go for it.
Okay, so essentially what we're doing is looking into different ways to spark transformation within people, and that can be across any realm, whether digital or physical. We're looking to craft environments to really pull somebody in and create enough space within themselves to experience transformation. I know that does sound a little mystical right now, but we utilize, old methodologies, new methodologies, technology, frameworks and systems we've learned that we've tested on ourselves, not in any way to put out into the world. It's just been through real life living. And all of a sudden we kind of came upon the conclusion through all of this journey. And we're like, well, we can kind of leverage everything that we've learned into ways that we can kind of help people transform, starting from the very core.
And why the name 80 milliseconds?
80 milliseconds stand for is a time that for your brain take to process what the senses are taking in. So 80 milliseconds takes for you to understand reality, basically. And that's for us was the spark of all of this. When we heard about the time that takes for your brain, we understood that there is something that we can work with. Like when you understand time in the bigger picture, then you understand that there is something that you can utilize to help other person.
It started as a way to understand that we aren't living in a current reality. We have a slight delay. For us, that number equated to 80 milliseconds. It's really like Bella was saying, it's the amount of time that it takes for our senses to decode reality, essentially. So what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm sensing, it takes an approximate amount of time for us to understand that as reality. And within that span of time, we think that there is a way to literally inject things into that span of time, maybe at a subconscious level or even at a conscious level. And that's kind of some of the things we've been exploring.
So are we helping people with their mindsets? Are we helping people, when you say transformation, what is it for people, or is it for technology, or is it for all of those?
For human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So in general, what we are very aware is that for human beings, it's very difficult to transform themselves. Like you live in a perception where you build that perception, like you understand the concept of your reality. You build that through your experience, but sometimes it's very difficult to break the paradigm. So what we understand is that we can spark for you to transform that paradigm. And that's where creativity can be a big tool to, to push that.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, what we do is we design through creativity, creative spaces. We can take one concept and from that concept create an experience where you're gonna be basically questioning yourself, questioning your reality, questioning what is happening to you. So by the end of the experience, you wanna live with something. No?
And if I can follow that up with doing that in a safe space. Because often transformation, I know in my personal example, I usually experience transformation after a critical or event that you would consider crisis, right? Like, so whether that would be an accident or a bad breakup or near death hospital event, those are the kind of things that usually kind of plant the seed of transformation in people. Like, oh man, I have to either eat better or exercise or treat myself better or spend time with different kinds of people. usually the crisis is the catalyst for transformation. We want to kind of eliminate that for people. So if we don't have to experience a crisis and we can experience transformation in a safe place, designed, whether that, again, back to physical, digital, even social, if we can design a space for people to experience transformation in a safe and healthy way, and in a way that involves a little confrontation, in a way that involves a little discovery, and, just some unpredictability, probably, then that's kind of how we've experienced transformation.
Would that be in a retreat or in a some sort of a seminar, or?
It will be a retreat or a art piece or a bot or a website. It depends. We're multimedia. So for us, there is no limit, right? So when you are a creative and you're multimedia, you know that the vehicle can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to understand for people because in this world, we are surrounded by specialists, right? And right now, we are understanding that a human being is not only a specialist, can have different skills. And with those different skills, you can interconnect something so you can create anything. So for us, it's very important to use all these skills because it's exciting. We're creatives, right? It's exciting to use all of these skills that we have been nurturing through our life. And it doesn't matter if you want us to help you to transform. We can choose the media that suits you the best, so we can help you with whatever you need.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Go ahead.
And I think with what Bella is saying is, beyond mediums, we like to explore technologies, and not specifically technologies like cameras or equipment like that we're used to thinking, like cognitive technologies, like language itself is a technology that humans invented X amount of years ago in order to progress consciously. So we understand that there are levels of cognitive technologies. Writing was a big one, reading, which you're certainly familiar with as an author yourself. When we pick up a book and read, we are immersing ourselves into an experience. And often the way we see an experience, we can break that down into certain rungs of a ladder. And if we want transformation, you have to start with the number one rung, which is attention, which is everybody in this world is fighting for attention right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a marketer, if you're a brand, if you're a company, if you're a person, if you have social media, you're fighting for people's attention. Now that I have your attention, what do I do with it? Well, companies have figured out, we need you to engage, right? We need you to either click or we need to move past attention to the next rung of the experiential ladder and engage with us. Okay. And I think a lot of people kind of just stop there. We got the click, we got the attention, we got the engagement, bam. What now? Convert it? Well, we're not interested in conversion for money. We're more interested in conversion to transformation. So the next rung of the ladder is immersion. And again, we have immersive experiences, but why stop at immersion when you can keep going? So if you stop at immersion, the person's going to walk away and all of a sudden they had an event that was sensory, that was stimulating, right? Oh, that was really cool. They can go tell their friends and family that I had an immersive experience. But without the next rung, which is resonance, what does that immersion mean? So when you're immersed and that the immersion and the topic and the message is speaking to you, it's resonating somewhere deep within you. That experience is saying, hey, look, I'm relating with you, or hey, look, you need to uncover this, or maybe you haven't identified this yet. All of a sudden it's resonating. We don't want it to stop there. The next rung is integration. Oh, you're right. This is resonating with me on a certain level. Maybe I haven't been as honest with myself as I thought I had been. You start to integrate that. And once you integrate it, well, then that's where the last rung is. It's transformation. So we believe every experience from a website to a conversation to a physical installation can lead to transformation, even in small ways.
How does a person decide, okay, I'm ready for a transformation, and then go and find you?
You never decide
You don't decide.
No, I don't think you decide. I think it just kind of well, let me rephrase. You can decide, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen.
Yeah. But you're saying like they go through a crisis, say. Mm-hmm. Okay, now how do they know, okay, there's these people that can help me? Where do they figure that out? Because so many times when you go through a crisis, you're just stuck there in that crisis, and you can't figure out how to go. And I want to go with you, and I want to go through all these steps and immerse and get myself on the other side,
Of course.
but I don't know how to get to you to get there.
I get it. It's very important for people to understand. Right now, we're not open to the general public. We understand that transformation needs to happen in a very small place, and our goal right now is to help people that have resources, leaders, right? People that have achieved something, probably have some economic power, but they are unsatisfied. They are not aware about certain things. Having money doesn't mean that you are completely evolved as a
No.
human being, but having money actually help you to start to spark all of that in your life. So for us right now, what we do is we are very, very focused in these leaders and these people that is looking for something different, looking for different answers. These people is people that reads. These people is people that is able to spend giant amount of money to kind of like understand and have answers, right? So right now our goal is to change those minds or help to change those minds so they can help us to open, like the door for everybody else.
And I think you said something about being unsatisfied, right?
Mhm.
Like, and that money doesn't equal satisfaction. And we like to understand those kind of contradictory mindsets. I think specifically for somebody who is the contradictory mindset of I am very appreciative and grateful of where I am now. I'm successful. I feel like I'm progressing in life, and I feel like I'm getting healthier mentally, physically, whatever way, or relationally, but I'm still unsatisfied. And it's that kind of contradictory, it like almost feels like an imbalance, like I really love life, but I'm also unsatisfied. We want to address that. We want to say, no, you can feel both of those things. You can actually embrace all of the contradictory mindsets and use those to help transformation. And it takes a certain type of individual, not that we want to dismiss anybody else. We want to work with people that are understand that they're ready, that they may not have the tools or the experience or the environments, but they know that there is far more out there beyond themselves, and that they can tap into this kind of collective intelligence consciousness, whatever the name may be, that we're kind of helping to tap into and bring to a larger stage.
Yeah, if we think in, like famous people, right?
Mhm.
Just celebrities. We see a lot of people in these big positions in their careers, but completely lost.
Mhm.
And that is a big problem in creatives. Like we all understand that, for example, leaders, entrepreneurs, politicians, celebrities, all of them are people that are driving a little bit our world right now. No?
Right.
And when they are in crisis, it's very difficult to, like for the rest of us to understand that that is a crisis. Like people is in crisis and a lot of people follows that. So if we focus in these people that they are in that at that level and we help them to go through that crisis, then they can, like become a better human being. So that pours into the masses, right?
Mhm.
And that's where we're at. We want to help all of these leaders that are unsatisfied, that they don't understand why they are unsatisfied, that they are even suffering with that level of success. Like you can be very successful and be deeply,
Mhm.
like madly depressed.
Unhappy or depressed,
Exactly.
yeah. Right.
So we were there at some point in our lives, and we went through a, like personal development, and we still, like a human being will always keep evolving. Like there are layers and layers and layers of things that today you become aware about certain part of yourself, but tomorrow you kind of like understand that you was unaware about other part of yourself.
Yes.
No, and this is a constant evolution. I think as a human beings we don't understand the life cycle. Like the circle of life is not about eating only, no, like, or how like you born and then you die and you refeed the earth. Like human beings, we have a life cycle, and when you understand that life cycle, you understand what is the life cycle professionally, personally, relational. Like, and we understand that a little bit more than the rest, and we're trying to guide these people to kind of like go through these processes in an easier way, and a little bit more deeper, like, well, deeper.
I think what we're trying to do is redefine what success is um, within ourselves,
Hmm.
and with the hope that society at large can redefine what success is. Because we're currently, success right now is number of views or number of zeros in your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And while that is a metric, right, I can define some level of success by that. That person with the views and the money could still be incredibly unhappy, or they could be a bad, mean person. And by proximity, people that don't have that measure of success can see, hey, if I'm being a bad or mean person, maybe I too can have the views and money. So we want to change. We want to redefine what success means, not so much externally, but what you are inside. If you are a success, and it starts top down. If we can work with leaders and people that are changing things at their own fundamental level in whatever genre or niche they might be in, then they can start to have that filter down into the people that are experiencing their work. Um, we want people to be more aware and conscious, and I think awareness and consciousness generally leads to better positive traits like happiness or kindness or appreciation, basic human dignity, like the ability to treat people with basic human dignity. If you are aware of your own actions and behavior, then typically you're not going to be that mean, because you would kind of hopefully see yourself in it as a mirror in those interactions.
Right.
So our 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 great wish is to redefine success as just being a good human being, and helping them get there through ways of transformation.
So what makes an experience transformative?
I think confrontation. You have to confront people so they can understand where are they, and then they will choose the transformation, right? You cannot actually, very honestly, you cannot push someone, right? But you can create the environment for them to start that transformation. um,
I
what
would
would you
say
say?
I 100% agree with confrontation as being a kind of a key to transformation. Confrontation helps us understand so much about somebody. If I were to ask you, name your core values off the top of your head, not many people, first of all, they don't walk around with core values, and that's okay. But they, deep down in there, they know that there are some, and I know that everybody has a set of core values. But instead of me being a passive participant in their story, I can confront them and I could say, hey, you're a thief or you're a liar. And all of a sudden your core values come up real quick. And you say, no, I'm not a liar. I'm an honest person. But through that confrontation, now we both know what one of your core values is. And is that an aggressive form of confrontation? Yeah, I don't think I would actually do that.
No.
But to make the point is, often through confrontation, both of us are going to get the answers that are generally pretty hard to find. If you just have to sit there and scratch your head, this is kind of a quick cheat code to saying, what are you? And we're going to figure that out together by kind of giving you a little bit of a resistance. And usually people are good at matching resistance with resistance. So
So what's something that you used to resist that you feel is essential now?
I used to resist
Or
being sensitive.
Or that somebody else would resist that is essential to who they become?
I think as a man, I used to resist the fact that I was incredibly sensitive, very extremely sensitive, to where something small could completely shift my day or week or something. And I previously viewed sensitivity as a weakness.
It's a weakness. A lot of men do, don't they?
And wrongfully so. But they're not to blame, because it's been propagated ever since probably we were cavemen, right? So we no longer live in caves. I think we can give ourselves a little bit of permission to move out of that mindset, where sensitivity isn't a weakness. It's really kind of a way to capture signal better.
It's an awareness.
It's awareness. If I'm sensitive and I allow myself to be sensitive, all of a sudden that opens up so many other things, like empathy, the ability to perceive something before it actually happens, to feel the energy of a room. I think we all have the ability to walk into a room, and if somebody's pissed off or in a bad mood, we're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's different in here.
Wait a second.
Yeah, and that's a form of
You
sensitivity.
can feel the energy in the
feel it.
room. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for me, before, and that's kind of a strong example, but even if, say, if Bella was off or she was feeling sad or something, and I could pick up on that, that sensitivity side of me, I would try to bury. I would say, no, I'm tough. I don't allow things to get to me. I built walls. I've spent a long time building these really strong, sturdy walls. I'm not going to allow something as like a sense get through and take me off my path, which really that's a form of real strong resistance to the flow of life.
So is that resistance protecting you, or is that holding you back?
In that instance, it is holding me back. I would say resistance is paradoxical because it can either be a good thing or a bad thing. When you resist something that doesn't align with you, let's say, I hate to put this on you because now you're a thief, a liar, and you come up to me and you say, hey, Sonny, let's go rob a car. I'm going to resist you by saying no because it doesn't align with my values. But if it feels like, on the other hand, resistance can kind of masquerade as something else. Like, let me find the words here for this one. If I resist it now, this immediate relief could turn into regret later. I'm resisting this thing now, and it feels good. I'm resisting the thought that I should go to the gym. I'm resisting that I should actually don't eat the cookie or whatever, and that is going to lead to regret later. So there are certain elements of resistance that can either work to your favor or work against you, and it's a lifelong dance to understand both of those. And I give in often.
We resist all kinds of, even small things,
Yeah.
and especially if someone tells us to do something and we know we should do it, but they tell us to do it and we don't really like that person and we don't want them telling us what to do. We will resist it even though we know we should do it, right?
That's ego.
So is that what that is?
That is 100% ego. And if you are making a resistance based on ego, then you have to really take a look at that choice.
Yeah, I think over here, the idea is to create new paradigms. Of course, you feel the trigger, right? Immediate trigger, immediate resistance. But a person that wants to transform will go through that resistance. We'll say okay, for the first time, I'm going to eat my anger or my shame or whatever feeling is, building up inside of me. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And whenever you pass through that, action, instead of living in your mind and you get the action, then you start to transform yourself. Then it becomes something easy because you just need to repeat the same action, no? But just to get there, just to get to the point where you say okay, I'm going to break this, even though I'm even blind sometimes. People is blind in those states, right? Even when I'm feeling in this way, I'm just going to go and break through and I'm going to take the action to change things.
Exactly. I think resistance, usually you're in a place of comfort. We're always in a place of comfort. Society and humans have developed an incredible world where we can be comfortable most of the time. Even when we're uncomfortable in our thoughts, we can at least be physically uncomfortable. I can be suffering immense anxiety, but I'm on a comfortable couch. And here comes the resistance, right? Because without resistance, you can't grow. For me, you can grow better when you're uncomfortable. Just like when you go to the gym, it's not necessarily a comfortable feeling picking up a really heavy weight. There's a lot of resistance, but you're building a stronger body. Not only a stronger body, but you're building the habit to keep that strong body going. You're building the mental fortitude to lift the weight. You're also doing it all through hormesis. So you're inducing stress in amounts that you can manage. And that builds resilience. It builds range. It builds so many other things because you're meeting that resistance head on. But if you would have stayed comfortable, no progress would have been made. You may have been binge watched a few episodes on your favorite show. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, but you have to be able to meet those moments of discomfort and resistance and just say, okay, I can get through this. It's not going to kill me. More than likely, it's going to make me stronger and better.
That makes me think of when people are in abusive situations.
Mhm.
Very often they won't leave the abuse because it's uncomfortable out there. They don't know what's out there. They're familiar with the abuse, so they'll stay and take the abuse rather than step out into the unknown, because that's really scary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also for that people, it is interesting because they just live inside of their minds, like completely tormented, like completely out of themselves. They become comfortable somehow, but also they kind of like disregard all these stories about other people that actually left that spot in life and did it better, like, and had a better future for themselves.
And why do you think they disregard those other stories? They don't say, "Oh, well, I could do that too."
Limiting beliefs. I think that is the actual answer. Like whatever story you're telling to yourself is this, the human that you become. No, for some people, just the word hard, like certain narrative that they learn in social media. And the why we did all of this is because we see the narrative, like in social media, the public opinion, right? Our narrative is not a narrative where we understand, okay, we're gonna switch and we're gonna shift everything that we are. The narrative is like, oh, this is super hard, probably you can do this. They give you tips and tricks, but in reality, those tips and tricks are not integrated, or they are not easy for yourself, right? So you are the biggest unknown in your own life. And because you are the biggest unknown, then you go through life, you can learn how to make money, you can learn some abilities, but you're still not knowing yourself, you're still not knowing who you are. So if you don't know what is your strength, if you don't know what is like your weakness, then you cannot work through anything. And every time that you are in every situation, you're just gonna bring the narrative that you created, because was something automatically, like in your brain, like you created that. So what happened is that at some point in your life, there is some breakthrough. There is something that you can feel or experience, or you see someone else's story and that inspire you. And that people is the one that is like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna try to go through something, and they're gonna make a lot of mistakes, but at some point they're gonna make it happen, right? But for some others, like if you're in this environment where you have people that tells the same narratives, and sometimes even you have, let's say you have this bad relationship, but your mom is telling you like, oh, but he's a rich man, you have to stay there because you're nobody, and this and that. So all of that narrative is still very sticky in your mind, and it's difficult for you to get out. And for some people it's very difficult to say, you know what, I'm just going to stop to talk with my mom, like, because all of that starts here, and then I'm gonna try to figure how I can get out of here. And all of that is a lot of bravery, like probably you will need to study something or find resources or whatever, but there's always a way. The thing is, it's a lot of hard work, like, which is good work, but we don't see that. We see just a struggle and everything. Human beings, we don't want to be uncomfortable. We want just to live in the way that we are, because that's how we understood reality. But there is another reality that we can all achieve if we understand how.
So when you confront someone, would that be the opposite of caring, or can it actually be a deeper form of caring about a person?
I think when you confront somebody, when it comes from a place of care, because you can confront somebody just to be a jerk, right?
Yes, we know those
Yeah.
people.
and that I wouldn't know if I'd consider that confrontation. Maybe it's just aggression or just something that they're doing. My definition of confrontation comes from a place of care. I think what confrontation actually means is you have commitment to that person. If I'm confronting you, I believe or care enough about you to actually say something that's generally pretty difficult. confronting somebody isn't saying, something that's usually pretty easy. It's calling something out that needs to be called out. What you're trying to do is avoid the slow drip of resentment and avoidance.
Mhm.
If you continue to not confront somebody, whatever issue it is that you're not confronting them on is going to create that negative feedback loop into ultimately it turns into an explosive fight, a relationship ender, or something worse, or something even more benign. Like it could go on for 40 years in a marriage, and the couple could wake up at the end of their life and say, my God, we wasted our opportunity. So confrontation is commitment. And Bella and myself, we confront each other all the time. We try to be gentle about it, but sometimes it can be aggressive. But we both know that it comes from a place of care and commitment. She confronts me all the time when it comes to certain decisions I'm making, and usually that confrontation leads to a far better decision. In the immediate, my ego is saying, no, this is my decision. It's the best decision I've ever made. It's probably the best decision that's ever happened in the universe. And you take a step back, and because I do respect her opinion and who she is in my life, I have to look at why she said that. And often it's in that space that I'm like, you first have to admit, you're like, okay, maybe I was a little bit wrong here.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
That's
and
hard
it's okay.
to do.
Yeah. But like I think mistakes are great because you get to a cheap learning opportunity,
Mhm.
right? A mistake, especially a low stakes mistake, is a great opportunity to say, okay, now I don't ever have to do that again. I've learned, and it was really kind of here. It was with Bella, and now I don't have to do that with somebody or at a negotiation table or with somebody we're trying to help.
Right.
I learned it here in a safe place where I can be confronted to make a better choice, and usually that's how it turns out. I can be stubborn at times, but
No. No.
yeah.
There's a saying, I taught for years, I taught people how to negotiate and how to confront people. And there's a saying that behavior not confronted continues.
Absolutely.
And not only does it continue, it escalates.
Mhm.
So if someone's doing something that irritates you a lot,
Mhm.
and you don't say anything, they'll keep doing it and keep
course.
doing it and
They have
keep
no
doing
idea.
it, and it'll get worse
Mhm.
until you just explode one day. So at some point early on, the sooner we can confront something that's bothering us, the sooner that's going to change.
And I believe you can do those in gentle, constructive ways, so that it might be hard if that person's really irritating you to do it in a constructive way. But I think we can all find it in ourselves to be the adult in any situation and approach it in a good way. But if you confront it early, well, then you save all of that time and all of that resentment, and you can free up all that space in your brain to do other bigger and better things instead of constantly going on this loop about the dishes or or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
or the email doesn't have the correct
Right. But so many of us do. We don't want to say something to someone about them being wrong because we don't want to have the confrontation or the aggravation or the explosion that might happen as a result of it. Now, let's switch just a little
Sure.
bit and talk about curiosity.
Mhm.
Okay, so how do you follow your curiosity past the point of productivity, and what do you find there?
Well, I'm in nature a very curious person. Um, and I think for me is the base of everything. Like through curiosity, I have been able to change my entire completely, but not only my life, my brain. Like the way that I used to think. I'm from Mexico City. Like I grew up in a, like not usual family, but with very, very strong values and principles, like very old school mindset. You have to become, like a very successful woman, married with a guy that have a lot of money, like, and, like go through this path of, like the generations and make everybody proud because now you know how to cook and have the husband and also you're making money, right? And I always thought that, like that wasn't me. So it was at some point very difficult for me to figure or to take the decision to reject all of that and find my way. But through my curiosity, I was able to take a book, like I was able to go out and meet people that probably my family, they will never speak with them. I will spend 2 or 3 hours talking with, like my favorite thing to do is to speak with older people because they have so much knowledge, right? They have gone through so much. So since I was very, very young, like just the bravery to sit down in front of a 80-year-old, a 70-year-old, 60-year-old, and have these delicious conversations where you can extract, like their life experience. And sometimes they give you tips and tricks, but not in the way that you see in social media, like they are truly, truly passionate about who they are, no? Or for me, when I used to do a fine art, like exploring the material, I know what is the technique. I don't care about the technique. I want to know about what I can do that can become something new. Like, does anybody thought about this? Can I do something different with this? So I feel, like after all of that story of mine, like I understand that creativity is just the way for me to keep building my reality, to keep progressing in this evolution. I don't know who I'm going to be tomorrow. I know who I am today. Tomorrow, probably I'm going to be a different person, but through all of these experiences, I know my productivity is taking me somewhere. I do have like a very a special way to see life and way to see time. So I know since I was very young that I'm heading somewhere and I'm closer. Like I feel it, I understand that I'm closer. So every day I wake up, I do the things that I have to do, use my creativity to bring more tools into my life. So then I'm gonna head to this place. No, how do you use them?
So curiosity for me, that's my favorite thing in the universe.
Is it?
Because that's where everything comes from.
Yeah.
Everything comes from curiosity. Like creativity is finding the places in order for that creativity to come through. And curiosity in regards to productivity, I think productivity is often a hard line where your curiosity ends. So, for example, a task is given. Uh, I love this chest. Can you find me this chest? Using your curiosity. So you're using your curiosity. You're going to look for this table, probably reverse Google image search or ChatGPT or something, and you're going to use your curiosity to find maybe something similar. And then you've completed the task. Your curiosity has gotten you to that point where productivity ends. The job is complete. Or your curiosity could take you further than that. And you're like, well, actually, what makes this thing so special? Look at the hinges, look at the latches, look at the metalwork here. What kind of wood is this? Actually, maybe that's the route I want to go down. So you start looking at what are the components, and all of a sudden you find out that it's this typical grain or this type of grain is from a tree in Borneo. And all of a sudden you're learning about Borneo and the Kerouac tribes, and all of a sudden now you're in Borneo getting a tattoo with one of the former headhunter tribe, and all of a sudden because of that, and your curiosity took you way past the point of productivity, and you got some really cool tattoos in Borneo. But well, I guess what I'm saying is that for me, curiosity will take me to places I never thought I would go to. And one thing that I must have in my life is unpredictability. Because as soon as something becomes too predictable, it becomes a place where me personally, where I stagnate. And I've tried the conventional life, the typical 9 to 5, which is wonderful to have for a functioning society. We need that kind of routine. We need that kind of structure. In my case, it didn't quite work for me. And now I get to be in a place where I'm curious, way, way beyond the point of productivity. And I want to get back to what Bella was saying about that leads to this. For me, that led to understanding creativity at such a unique level that we are kind of creating our own reality as we speak. So you start to, and there's a few buzzwords out there on manifestation, things that sound kind of fun from the outside that really don't hold any weight. or they sound a little too mystical. I think we all have the power in our minds to create exactly what we want. I'm not going to make a Bugatti appear out of thin air, right? But what I can do is think about that car and a way to get there. So again, that seems like a really easy path, but it's not. I mean, you have to do a ton of work. And for me, it's not about the car. It's not about anything. It's just about knowing that at any moment in time, I can create the mindset that helps me get that
Right.
car. So if the version of me has that car, the version of me that has that car isn't somebody who's quick to anger. He's not a reactive person. He's not somebody who is poor with his money. He is somebody who's actually very full of self-respect, who treats others with dignity. That person that has that car is all of these qualities of a person that has that car. So instead of the car, now I'm thinking about the person. I'm thinking of future self-embodiment. Who is that Sonny? And all of a sudden, once I start to aggregate all of these qualities and I understand to be that person, I can take my time to get there, or I can just be them. I can understand that future Sonny is a kind and gentle person. I can wait till I get there, or I can just be kind and gentle now.
You can
And-
make a decision.
Yeah, and it's a decision happens instantly. But it takes years of work to make that decision, right? It
Yes.
takes a lot of digging.
Mhm.
It takes a lot of confrontation. It takes a lot of uncomfortable moments. It takes a lot of shame and guilt and vulnerability. And it takes a lot of joy and grief and sorrow and happiness. It takes so many different moments. It's a culmination of all these life choices and thoughts and things. And then all of a sudden you make a decision. You're like, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be kind and gentle from now on. That's my baseline. Will I get angry? Probably. Will I be jealous? Probably, because I'm still a human. But my baseline is kind and gentle, and that's how I carry my life forward. If that gets me to a Bugatti, great. I don't really care about the car anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people in my age generation were taught not to be curious. We were taught not to ask questions. Don't ask people things. If they want you to know, they'll tell you. And so that's been ingrained in you for years and years and years, don't ask, don't ask, don't ask. How do you get over that? How do you change that?
Generationally.
Well, yeah. Well, this is a completely different generation. I feel technology gonna take a big part of that, because now ChatGPT is about ask questions, right? Probably not to people, because that was the way to be proper, right?
Yes.
Way to be like socially accepted and proper. And when you're a kid, like you have so many questions because you don't know anything. You are coming to this world not knowing how to navigate, how to breathe, nothing, right? You have to learn everything. It's a big disservice, like when we do that to kids. In our generation, I think curiosity was a little bit more accepted, like in certain environments, professional environments, I will say. When I met her, like one of the things that kind of like drove me crazy about him, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is amazing, is his curiosity, because he thinks in ways that are so like detailed. He will ask even about why is wood, why that is metal, why the color, what they do together. I will never think like that, and also on the combo, how all of that feels, and for me it was like, oh my God, this is a person that understand, like farther, like what do you need to do as a human being to navigate this. But in general, I feel you need to spark a little bit your own passion, like everything that moves you a little bit, you need to question why it is moving you. I think that one of the biggest struggles as a human being is also that we don't understand our own emotions. And we have been practicing this more and more and more to be capable to describe the emotion that you feel, because sometimes these emotions are contradictory. Like you can feel joy, but you can be very insecure at the same time, right? You can be stressed out, but also you can feel a sense of peace because something else happened to you, and these contradictory emotions, people think that we cannot live them together. No, and that's a complete lie. Like when you understand that you are just this biological
Right.
human, right? So, in terms of curiosity, if you don't start to question yourself and start to understand that, like it will be a very difficult path. But technology definitely is opening the doors right now for these generations
Oh, I
to
believe
be
so.
more and more and more curious.
I believe so. I find that in today's generation, if there's something you don't know and you don't know who to ask, you don't know where to go, you don't know. In generations past, you were just kind of stuck there and you'd start asking anybody and everybody. But today you can go to AI and you can say, how do I do this? Or why do I do that? Or where can I find this? Or who might have this answer? And it'll tell you.
Can I validate the original question that you had about curiosity for
Uh-huh.
your generation? And I think what Bella said was a completely different angle. And I'm listening to her speak, and I'm like, oh, well, that's of course.
Of course.
I was coming at it from a completely different from a route. So for me, curiosity for people that have already consigned themselves as non-curious people, so the question is, how do you generate curiosity? By generating curiosity. So if I were to go up to, say, somebody of a certain age and they're like, I'm not a curious person. Okay, great. I am. Let me be curious about you. In the act of me being curious, me generating curiosity, they're going to feel curious, maybe not about me, but themselves, because now they have to dredge up these answers that maybe they haven't thought about since they were a kid, when they were creative and curious before society kind of bred it out of them. So in order to create curiosity, we have to generate it from within ourselves. And at the end of the day, everybody feels good when somebody's curious about them. I don't care who you are.
I think something happens there when you do something and then you're with another person and they'll say, well, you were with Bella. What did she say about this? And you go, I don't know. And but didn't you ask her? No. Well, why didn't you ask her? I don't know. Well, did you wonder? Yes. But why didn't you say it? And then you think, oh, because I was taught that was impolite. That's why I didn't ask her. And I think sometimes people in this older generation are stuck in that. And I find just a couple nights ago, we went to dinner with to see Monique Maffei at the Composer's Room. And several ladies in my age bracket who've lost their husbands all decided to go together. And we're there, and I would ask questions, because I do that. I've learned to ask questions. So I would ask them questions, and they would be like, I don't know. And I'd say, oh, why don't you know? Oh, well, I didn't. And then I find them doing what I used to do. Because I think society trained us that way. But if we can be gentle with people when we're pulling that out of them, I think then they start to realize, well, I really am curious, but I just didn't ask.
I think the importance, did you want to say something?
Oh, well, go for it. That will do it.
I think the importance of curiosity is understanding the intent behind it. So if somebody's perceiving that your curiosity is coming from a place of rudeness or impoliteness, maybe you should reframe the way that you're being curious. For me, when I'm curious about people, my intent is just to know them on a deeper level, not to find something to hold over their head, not something for gossip. My curiosity is generally coming from a place of, if I can understand this person better, then I can communicate with them better, then we can find a way to collaborate together. We can make this relationship, however shallow or deep it may be. My curiosity is going to be, I'm going to do the brunt of the work to make sure that this relationship is going to be successful, whether it's 15-minute conversation or a 15-year business partnership. I want that curiosity to take us both to someplace good. And my intent is always that. It's never, what do you got hiding back there that I can use against you? So I think people are pretty wise to the intent. And no matter the age, if your curiosity comes from a place of pureness, like a child, like, I'm a 4-year-old, and he could ask me something that outwardly would seem incredibly rude. Like, Daddy, your belly is fat, or something like that.
Like, why is your belly sticking out like that?
Like for me, I'm like, oh gosh, now I got to go back. But for him, it's just, he's curious because he wants to know. He's not trying to hurt my feelings. I understand his intent is just one of pure curiosity. as we grow older, we understand tact. You know, and we wouldn't ask that to somebody because we understand the implications, even with our intent. But I think once you understand the intent behind everything, whether it's creativity, curiosity, it just changes the whole approach on everything.
Yeah, and I think right now in this moment of life, like people tend to, well, there are like two ways, right? The one that you have to be alone because everybody can hurt you or whatever, you have to do your own thing, blah blah narrative. And in the other side, if you are relating with someone, relating is just talking, however it is, then you need someone for that, from that person. But what we don't understand is how we can get that from that person and how we can be more connected. Like the disconnection right now is huge. Like we live in a world where our phones are our own little bubble, right? And we believe that we can live in that way when we are social, like mammals, right? So the idea is you want to be curious about the other person because in that way you can understand, like where that person is at, how you can integrate with that person and take the best from that. Like if you really want to take something from that person, you have to make it feel good. So if you want to date with the guy or the girl, like that is super hot and all of that, and you're not curious about them, like you will never be there. But what makes like the story like delicious and incredible and all of that is the curiosity that you have about them. Like what do they do? People get obsessed about the person that they really really like, that they have a crush on, right? But if you that's the easiest way to understand like how you can apply that to anybody, right? And if you go through the world thinking and okay, I'm gonna make a friend for 15 minutes, I don't care about that person, but I'm gonna make this friend for 15 minutes. You will never know, like with who are you speaking with,
Exactly.
like what happened to us, right?
Right.
And we felt the spark, and then we ended, like in this interview, and we don't know what's next, right? But you have to be open to the experience in life, and the society is telling us that if nobody is giving you what you want, it's better if you're alone, and that's not our nature. Like we're breaking all the rules of our nature, and that's why we are suffering. So for us as a company, like we really want to make people understand all of these concepts, but in a very small, like environment where we won't approach everything at the same time. Like we're gonna go for a very simple thing that we believe is what you need. For example, we have one about choices, right? If we understand the power of a choice, then it's very simple for you to start to choose in your daily basis.
Yes.
And if we create an experience that is memorable, that you can remember because you never thought that that little thing that happened in this environment will spark you in that way, then we're doing the right job, right?
If we can create an environment as simple as we can, it would make it as impactful as we can. So we can present you with one choice that seems, but like mundane or it just doesn't seem like a big choice. But when you're faced with it by yourself, it becomes the biggest thing in the world at that moment. And we want people to understand that we make choices. Our behavior is based on choices. I'm making choice. Every word I'm speaking is based on a choice. And it all comes down to, am I making a choice based on my ego? Am I making a choice based on my intuition or based on research and education? And, you can trace those back to like the motor access or I believe it's the emotional and the analytical, or I don't remember the names, but we make choices based on a few different factors. And once you understand, I'm making this choice because of my ego or something that isn't serving the greater purpose or good of my life, then you can kind of go back and analyze and say, well, maybe I need to reframe, because if I'm making a choice based on my ego, all of a sudden my behavior is going to reflect that. People might look at me and say, he seems like a fake, or something like that.
Right.
And if someone wants to kind of understand all of this about choices, our first, let's say, I don't know, like proof of concept of choices is our website. Like our website is for you to discover what is there. It's not a sales pitch or anything like that. you have to discover what is there, like through the narrative, through the images. You are presented, like we present two choices most of the time, no? So you choose your own path, and that's why it's for us that's why we create our website in that way. Was very important for us to make people start to experience, like what we're capable to do in this environment that right now is digital, right? And they're gonna be immersed into that environment.
And I think regardless of whether you understand it or not is not the point. You don't have to understand anything. For me, as long as, I think Bella mentioned it earlier, I want to create things that make people feel. We don't always understand what we're feeling, but we definitely feel it. The website, even this conversation, you may walk away from this being like, I still don't get what they do. But hopefully you felt something. Hopefully you felt.
Oh, I already bought into whatever it was, right? No.
And that's the idea, is to not bombard somebody with information or metrics, KPIs, things like that. Is to just not bombard anybody with anything. It's just to open up and allow us to be and feel. And if you can feel something, even if you don't understand it, you're probably going to want to be curious about it. So, okay, I felt it. I don't get it. Because if you immediately get it, then where does the curiosity come from?
Right.
You have to search.
Yeah.
Curiosity forces you to search. And when you search and when you find it and you come upon your own conclusion, well, gosh darn it, it's a lot more satisfying that way, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. It really is. We're almost out of time, but I really want to thank you both. This has been so amazing. And it's interesting as you talk, I find all these ways that we can connect because, I put out a magazine called Choices. Interesting that you're dealing with choices because I think life is about choice.
Truly.
Yeah.
And you've really made that very, very clear here today. I've certainly enjoyed my time with you and asking you questions. But I knew from the day I met you that I had to have you on the show. Would you like to tell the audience how they can get in touch with you if they want to? And maybe through email or through your website or through your telephone, if you want to just share that.
Yeah, our website is 80milliseconds.space. And if you want to email us, is the assistant at 80milliseconds.space.
That's all we'll give out.
That's
the rest you just kind of have to experience.
Yeah, we are not everywhere. We're in some social media, but with 80 milliseconds, you will find us.
And 80 milliseconds is the number 80.
80. Yeah.
Milliseconds.
80 milliseconds together.
Okay.
Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you
This
so
has been
much.
incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being with us here today. It's been another interesting half hour with What's Your Story? And certainly these people have a story that's fascinating to us. And I hope we have them back again another day because there's so much more. I have like 7 or 8 pages of notes on how interesting they are. So we'll be doing it again soon. And I hope you'll join us.